all the duties incumbent on me
as a full-time Plastow police officer
as a full-time Plastow police officer
for the town of Plastow,
for the town of Plastow,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeable to the rules and regulations
agreeable to the rules and regulations
of this Constitution
of this Constitution
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
So help me God.
So help me God.
It's the last of the candidates for this evening. Again, we have that one position left to fill. We anticipate that the position to be filled sometime late summer, early fall, and we'll bring our ranks up there. We continue to be the go-to police department in the region. Things have made forward progress here. We've made a lot of changes, and the desire to be here, again, that one position where we have 12 or 14 candidates who've applied for that one remaining position. It's become a very competitive and desirable place to work. Again, without the support of the town manager, selectmen, and all the taxpayers here and at home, we thank you again for supporting us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Chief, I just wanted to say one of the most important things we do here is the people we hire, and we look forward to you guys representing the town of Plastow and our community. So thank you very much, and good luck with your academy, and we look forward to seeing you on the streets. So
And welcome,
thank you.
welcome to Plastow.
You guys want to do some, take some photos?
Pictures up here real quick. Kyle, you got the-
We can wait a few minutes while you guys do that.
Let me know where you're gonna be. Thank you. Okay. I'm assuming things went well.
Thanks again. I think I blinked.
I won't go up there.
Not yet. All right, we'll give everyone just a moment. All right, moving on to, we'll revisit public comment. Anyone in the audience for public comment? Please step up and state your name and address.
Ryan LeBrecq, 174 Main Street.
Good evening.
Good evening as well. Thanks to the Lions Club and Mr. Gifford for hosting the event a little ways back. And props to the young band that was at Old Home Day. I think that was the best performance in a while. They should come to the town concerts. They did a great job. I have a few things to go through tonight because we're not allowed to comment during meetings, so I have to wait a month to formally comment. So, regarding the BOS seat selection at the last meeting, I have a few questions. What was the date that Ms. Bergeron resigned? If you don't know the answer, I think I have the correct date. It's 5/20/2024. At the meeting verbally, I think she submitted a letter of resignation on 5/23. And the date that the town of Plastow first advertised the opening for seeking candidates for the select board was May 21st, 2024, a day after the initial resignation on the 20th, which makes sense. And then the deadline of submission was 6/13/2024. I had requested, just because I was curious, to see each individual candidate's letter of candidacy or what have you. Requested a date stamped version just so I could see when things were submitted. 3 of them were submitted by email, very simple date stamps. One was myself, 6/13. Jason was on 6/13, and Nolan, I believe, was on 5/21 as well. Peculiar though, that Mr. Britton's letter was dated May 11th, 2024, which is actually 10 days prior to Ms. Bergeron resigning, which now makes clear that, his selection was predetermined in advance of the 6/13 or the 6/17 meeting, and the candidacy outreach was basically a sham and a waste of time for all involved because, the determination was made in advance. So the 6/17 meeting was political theater, essentially. Poor acting, but political theater. Predetermined in advance. Us 3 had no chance prior to this to even getting this position, and which is unfortunate because you both wasted my time in writing a letter and updating a resume and trying to take things seriously, as well as wasting my time at the meeting and what little or no deliberations, the candidate questions, etc., were all a waste of time. Mr. Britton was predetermined in advance of the meeting. He submitted a candidacy 10 days before Ms. Bergeron even resigned. And, that is very unfortunate and quite ridiculous, actually.
Well, let me address that. Okay?
Sure.
I had talked to Tammy several weeks before she resigned, and she said she was going to resign. I felt as though if she was going to, I would put a letter of interest in, knowing that I had just come off the board and knew what the running of the board was and what the issues were still in the board. So right after she had told me, I put the letter in. So,
She hadn't even announced it to the public yet.
no, she hadn't, but she announced it to me.
Okay. So it seems like there's...
You're looking for a grand conspiracy.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm
Yeah,
looking
you
for
are.
fairness.
You're coming in here and saying that the
I'm looking
board
for
is a
fairness.
sham and everything else.
Yes, it is. It's public comment time. I'm not allowed to talk when you're talking during the meeting, so I'll continue on.
Can I add to that? Would you allow me the permission to add to that?
Sure. Feel free.
He brought that letter into me in my office. I put it in my desk drawer knowing that she hadn't publicly declared it. I did not make any of the other board aware that I had received a letter from him until after she formally resigned. So they weren't even aware that he put in his letter.
The whole point is he was having conversations with Tammy, who was having conversations likely with the rest of the board and him as well, because he's been on the board in the past. And there wasn't even an attempt to, very easily, a new letter could have been produced with a date that matches the dates. There was no even an attempt to try to make it look legitimate, and I don't have anything against you personally. I have a few issues with, in the same meeting where the board, with no disrespect, he gave up his seat. He decided not to run again. For whatever reason, he decided to do that. That's fine. He's well within his rights to do so. We have one of the three candidates behind me that ran. This board indicated, hey, we think it's fairest for the public to fill the seat. Well, the public did fill the seat. They filled it with Nolan because he came in third. The second place wasn't interested in the seat. Mr. Britton hadn't run for the seat. So if you want fairness, you should have gone down the line of the voters' choice, which would have been Nolan. But, from my perspective, I don't think you really want him on the board because he does ask questions. Like myself, we question things, and it's not personal against anyone. We just naturally question. And one of the frustrations I've had since I've lived in this town is this board hasn't traditionally questioned each other. It's been fairly unanimous on most decisions, with maybe one person errantly voting against something. Everything seems aligned most of the time. And I challenge Ms. Costa to question everybody and ask questions and not just accept what others want. I'm not saying you will, but it's unfortunate that regardless of what the reason that the letter was submitted, the date, what have you, it certainly doesn't look above board. And it's unfortunate that it doesn't appear above board. And I am in no way arguing that I should have been selected. I think Nolan should have been selected. And I think that based on the fact that the letter is dated 10 days before resignation, that vote should be thrown out, and you guys should enact the will of the people, which is select Nolan as the Board of Selectmen candidate. I know it's very unlikely that you will do that because traditionally you don't really follow what the public wants, comment-wise and voting-wise. So I doubt it'll happen. I challenge you to do that. But
We
it's
appreciate
unfortunate.
your opinion. You want to move on to your next item?
Sure. In the same meeting, I thought it was quite hilarious where the board had the audacity to appeal to the public for people to get involved, because you had three people that wanted to get involved and wanted to volunteer, and you chose not to select any of the three that came forth and wanted to volunteer for the position, that were new and hadn't already been through the ringer 3 or 4 times, with the caveat that, well, experiences. So you're never going to get new volunteers involved if you never give new volunteers a chance to fill roles. And it's unfortunate that in the same meeting where you had that opportunity and you passed that opportunity and you preferred to give the seat back to somebody that quit, and reinstate that person, as opposed to bringing some new ideas, new blood, new questions, new whatever, however you want to call it, onto the board.
All right, well, you're revisiting the same topic, so if
That's
you could
fine.
move on to something else. We usually keep a 3-minute to public comment, so I'm giving you some leeway, so.
So I have 3 more pages, so I'm almost there.
Oh, okay.
In regards to the fire department roof, that night, Mr. Britton was seated. No information was released to the public prior to the 6/17 meeting for review. Town manager indicated he had all the information readily available. Unless he knew about the issue and saw the content of the bidding process and was able to review it before, should not have voted on it. Also falsely claimed that the roof in question is 35 years old. I talked to the fire chief previously, and from my understanding, it was 5 to 7 years old, and it was just poorly installed, and it may very well be poorly installed. That night, I requested all the documentation to review via email. Eventually, unfortunately, it took over a week for a response to, hey, you can come in and look at the partial information that I'm going to show you. I also asked some questions, very simple questions. One of the questions was, explain the process by which the roof consultant was selected. The answer to which I received from the town manager was, the law does not require staff to explain processes or answer questions. That's unfortunate that as the manager of the town, when a constituent, a taxpayer who's paying for your salary asks a question that you chose not to answer it, and you choose to cite some RSA that doesn't require you to answer the question. It's a simple question. So either you're just being belligerent by not wanting to answer it, or don't know the answer to it, which is probably worse. Since the town manager couldn't answer the question, I'm going to ask the board the same question. Explain the process by which the roof consultant was selected.
We have an engineering firm that reviews.
You weren't part of the process. You weren't even on the board at the
No,
time
but I'm
prior
telling
to
you
the
how the
meeting.
process works.
So you shouldn't, I mean, someone else on the board should respond.
Well, each of us have our.
You could say a generic, I'll accept a generic response, but I would like a specific response in regards to this specific consultant. Or the town manager can answer the question if you'd prefer. The board maybe can compel Mr. Colby to answer the question, since he won't apparently answer it to me directly.
So my understanding of the process, we went out and found the consultant. The consultant went and found the companies to provide us the RFPs.
How's the consultant getting paid? How is it determined? Was there a proposal submitted by the consultant? What's the review process for the proposal? Was it competitive or not?
We found a consultant. There was no RFP process for a
Call
consultant.
up a guy and say,
We have a consultant.
find me someone to fix my roof.
We have a consultant. They found us the bids.
And they all had to be certified as well,
They're all,
work with that material.
Why would, and I've struggled with this on the school.
What is
school
this-
board as well. I'm trying to understand the process by which things are contracted, and it seems to be very, very loose. Like, I called Vinny, and Vinny gave me a price. I'm not saying Vinny's not qualified. He may be qualified. But is there, I mean, typically you'd put some sort of RFP together requesting a consultant to provide XYZ services in order to achieve whatever you're trying to achieve. In this case, a consultant to design / do.
so the
do a-
consultant,
do
so
a-
hold on,
Yeah,
let me
I'm
finish, okay?
fine.
The consultant that went and found all the deficiencies on the roof, they went and they found all the little issues that we were having with the roof. They're the ones that put together this report that we had. And feel free to jump in, Mr. Colby or the fire chief at any time. They found the deficiencies. They're the ones that put together this report. That is a company that went out and found the certified companies that could bid on this project.
So we paid them to do that.
That is part of the process.
What did we pay them to do that?
You tell me. You put in the
I don't
right to
know.
know request.
I didn't see that yet. I just got back, and it was
Then-
only available to me as of today, because I was gone last week.
Yeah.
So I haven't looked at it. Don't know if it's a contract, don't know if the dollar value, usually the dollar values are redacted on most things that I'm, not always, but I'm just asking the question, like, there should be a selection process. There should be an RFP that goes out to develop with a scope of work for a consultant to provide a service. That should be competitively sourced. And then, so moving forward, you guys last week voted on
That's-
selecting a
And-
roofing
And that's what
contractor.
this consultant did. They went out and put an
Okay.
RFP together for the businesses that were certified to do the roof installation.
Limited to the 3 that they selected. There could be 30 others, yes.
I think that was manufacturer based.
Yeah, and you have to be a certified installer, but there's more than, I'm sure there's more than 3 roofers in the area that are certified. And yes, there's 3 prices. I'm not disputing that. But I still don't see, I'm trying to follow the paper trail from hiring a consultant to contracting the work. And I'm not seeing that right now. Is this consultant,
Mr. Colby?
is the work being contracted through the consultant, or is the work being contracted directly to the contractor in the end?
Through the contractor.
Okay. I reviewed the quotes for the 3 quotes that exist, and not one of them referenced the document package that they supposedly based their quote upon, which is unfortunate. It's very open and loose. Hopefully the contract has the contract been let to said roofing company?
Has it been what?
Has the contract has it been executed with the roofing company since the last meeting?
I would have to speak to the maintenance supervisor. I'm not sure at this point.
So contracts that are obligated in the town you're not visible to them? You don't see them before they're inked? Who signs the contracts?
I sign the contracts. I signed the contract for the maintenance supervisor. Given the holiday and the fact that he's been on vacation, I'm not 100% sure if he has communicated that to the contractor.
So you've already signed the contract?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so it's executed in your eyes as long as you
Yes.
signed it?
And then I pass it off to the maintenance supervisor, the department head, and he will handle it from there. And again, since he's been on vacation, the holiday and the like, I'm not 100% sure where we're at with it.
That's fine. So I'll request to see a copy of the contract. 'Cause apparently,
Go to the website, you can print off the right to know request that is there and fill that out accordingly and file it with Beth, please.
wouldn't it be easier just to have copies of public information available for the town, for the public to review?
You want us to put every single document on the website?
You're uploading it somewhere.
No, we're not.
Everything's paper?
Yes.
Okay, that's probably a problem. All I'm saying is I'm going to continue to ask questions, and I would appreciate responses that aren't smart.
Can I see that response? Because I don't recall that
in the
response at
letter
all. I
that-
just looked at my email with my sent items and I don't have anything there.
It's in the letter that Ms. Hossack sent to me. It's part of that response,
Okay.
which I assume is a response from you. Maybe I'm incorrect, but at the very least, you would have reviewed it before it went out, I'm sure. These are just simple questions. I'm trying to follow the paper from start to finish. Things of certain size should be put out appropriately via RFPs with chances for multiple consultants to chime in with proposals to provide design services to achieve whatever you're trying to achieve.
All right.
And then once they're in there, an RFP should go out with the scope of work
Thank
to
you.
any contractor that wants to bid on it.
Okay, thank you. Next. Or are you done?
I'm not done.
All right, well, your time's up. So you can come back the next time. Unless you got a couple minutes. Yeah, I'll give you 2 more minutes.
So regarding public comment, one of the reasons why I have a laundry list of things is because it's really a waste of time for the public to come to this meeting because the board decides to vote on things before any public comment is even considered. And it was very clear, Mr. DeRoche, that you indicated that, well, it doesn't really matter what the public comment is. We're still going to vote the way we're going to vote. you asked all the candidates, what do you feel the board, the purpose of the Board of Selectmen or what your role is as a Board of Selectmen. You're here to represent the public, and we are the public. There's 2 or 3 of us that show up occasionally, not every time. You're probably happy that we don't show up every time. I'll probably be here every time now. Only till the end of public comment, because the rest of the meeting is a waste of time. I might as well watch the meeting the morning of the next meeting and prepare my questions for public comment. That way I don't stew for 30 days prior, and I'm not pissed off after I leave here for 30 days. So that's my new method, because there's really no purpose in showing up in person outside of being here for public comment. With that said, it seems to me that the public, anything that's being voted on, the public should have a comment period as it happens in this meeting. And so that you can get the public's opinion prior to voting on an issue. That only makes sense to me. Unless you don't really care what anyone thinks, which may be the case, but you can at least pretend to care during the meeting by allowing questions at the meeting, as opposed to shutting people down that have questions. So I'm asking that the board change the public comment section to occur after each issue and have a public comment period after each issue live during the meeting. Then it would make sense to come to the meeting and stay here the whole time, which it's nice and cool in here right now, so I wouldn't mind staying. I'll go outside and sweat though.
All right, we'll take it under advisement.
We can do better. And please do. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Nolan Pelletier, 24 North Ave. I hope you have time. I'm about 20 minutes longer than Ryan. I came here I couldn't make a comment after last week, or last meeting, I should say. I do feel the question was asked if you could get over your bias to the applicants. And I think that this board could not get over its bias towards me. That's why they made the decision as it is. Although that is not, it is lawful and right. It doesn't mean it's right in a certain context. Although I do enjoy being the most turned down on appointments in Plastow. It's a title that I'm not ashamed to have. I don't want to be a dead horse. I did have concern about the order of applicants, and maybe it would be different if this already hadn't happened to me before. This is not the first time. My application on another one was held for 3 months, and when it was brought to light, nothing was done about it. The use, or I should say the fluid use of policy with government and is you look the other way when it suits you, and then you wield it as a weapon when it suits you. It should be consistent. It should not change. If it's going to be one or the other, it should always be that way. And I do agree with Ryan. It is very difficult to get the information that you need to make educated decisions in this town. It's like pulling teeth, and we should really make that easier. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, moving on. Next up, we get the fire and ambulance quarterly review and department update.
Good afternoon.
Good evening, Chief. How you doing?
Bear, how you doing?
Wonderful. How was your 4th of July?
It was mostly peaceful.
Yeah?
Mostly peaceful. Went by fast. So I have a bunch of information. Do you want to start? Do you want to, while you're getting stuff fired up?
Yep, I'll let you
I
go.
could kind of give you an overview, I think, as a whole as the department and as the ambulance service goes. So to date, we've answered 760 calls service for this year. 17 of those were fire related, 484 were EMS related, and then the rest make up like service calls, good intent calls, alarm activations, and such. The transition for the ambulance service, we started March 1st. I couldn't be happier with the transition. It was a complete seamless transition from our contracted provider to our municipal service, and we haven't skipped a beat since then. I think it's good to hear some of the bigger calls that we've been on. I don't have I'm not going to talk a lot of them, but I think it's important to hear some of the differences that we've been making. So not a month into the system, we answered a call where a gentleman was having a heart attack, where a vessel in his heart was completely clogged, and every minute that he wasn't getting care, his heart was dying, which turns into long-term disability or even potentially death. So we were able to arrive at his side 3 minutes and 42 seconds from the 911 call. Our paramedics quickly started assessing him, recognizing what was going on, and treated him appropriately and got him to a hospital where they quickly did a heart cath on him and got that back open again. So that's one of our residents that is going to be with our family for another day. Later on in April, we ran another call where a patient was in a lethal heart rhythm. So he was in a rhythm called ventricular tachycardia, which you cannot live in for long. He was in dire need of help. He was so anxious from the problem that they had to sedate him a little bit so they could begin treating him. That call was answered. We were en route to that call within 47 seconds of the 911 call, and we were at his side within 5 minutes. We could have actually been there a little bit quicker, but his anxiety in calling 911 has some confusion on where he was located. So he wasn't from this town. He had pulled off to the side of the road, and there was a little bit of confusion what road he was actually on. So it did delay us, but we got there within 5 minutes. And again, our paramedics did an exceptional job treating a lethal heart rhythm and getting him to the appropriate hospital. May, we had a commercial structure fire at PetSmart. So this is more fire department related, a commercial building, a large taxpayer for our community. We were there within 1 minute and 18 seconds and had a fire under control really quick. So it did not have a chance to grow and become worse and potentially lose a business in the community. You're going to have some more on this particular call coming up. I'm hoping to do a reunification with the crew and you all soon. This is very exciting. So when you look at what kind of differences do you make, obviously you improve people's health. That's a tremendous difference. When you take someone that was dead and you bring them back to life and they're with their family now, that is the most significant change that we could impact for one of our residents. So this, I'm going to talk more about this in a future meeting, but this was in May. Complete cardiac arrest, patient's not breathing, does not have a pulse, laying lifeless, absolutely lifeless in front of their loved ones on the front porch. 911 call was made. We responded within 17 seconds, and we were on the scene taking care of him within 3 minutes and 49 seconds. So less than 4 minutes, or right at 4 minutes from the 911 call, we're on the scene providing life-saving treatment for this gentleman. Our paramedics revived him. He is alive and doing well today because we exist. Just the other day, we answered a serious motorcycle accident here on 125, a significant trauma patient. We responded, this was at 10 o'clock at night. They responded within 1 minute, 25 seconds. It was on the scene within 3 minutes and 42 seconds. This was a significant trauma patient where bleeding loss was significant. And our quick arrival, along with the police department's quick arrival, was able to stop that. We quickly loaded him on med flight, flew him to Boston, and he's had to undergo numerous surgeries that were very lengthy, but it's expected he's going to make a complete recovery. And talking to his wife, she is very, very happy that we were there so quick to take care of her husband. So that, I got some other things I'd like to discuss, but that's really about the ambulance, I think, for now. And you want to go over some financials? Any questions over any of those cases I we're making a significant difference in our community.
Yeah, you see it and you hear it. It's out there. So, there's a lot of good feedback that I'm hearing. So you're making a very good impact on the community.
So as far as the inception, if you will, of the ambulance service, and say inception, I mean, obviously, we provide ambulance service prior to March 1. But as of March 1, as we all know, we took over sole responsibility for it.
Primary response capability.
Primarily responsibility. So with that, we also brought in, a billing company, the other, pieces of that to make this department, a running, functioning department. So as part of that, the billing company does provide us with monthly reports. So they upload the information, I believe, off of the software system, and they are responsible for prepping the bills, billing the insurance, the individuals, and the like. So with those reports, we get an idea, and they call it a desensitized report. So there's no HIPAA information disclosed, anything that, shouldn't be disclosed. But they take all the calls, they figure out all of the costs related to those calls, and they send out the bills. Now they send them out to insurance companies, individuals, Medicare, Medicaid, and the like. So with that, we get a monthly report. So here, on the screen, you can see the chief had given me the call numbers, but so take March as an example. So there were 118 total calls. 77 of those were medical or ambulance related, and of those, 60 were transported. Once that information was sent over to the billing company, they billed out approximately $124,193. So for quarter 2, April and May, the call numbers, and for June, those are all solid numbers. The monthly billings for April, $127,254. For May, $122,995. For June, we do not have the report from the billing company yet, but I basically took the average of what was transported versus monthly billings to very conservatively do a monthly billing for the month of June. We know with the holiday and the like, and that probably 8 days into the next month is a little too soon to have those numbers, but we at least wanted to get this, out. So you can see year to date, or we should say from March to date, there have been 221 transports and an approximate billing of $485,000.
Can
Now-
I ask a quick question on that?
Yes.
And it may be because of where you're transporting or whatever, but I see 60 calls in March at $124.93. And in April, I see 53 at $127. So it's not a standard fee?
So for one, just to be clear, there is no direction out there of how much you should charge for an ambulance bill. There's
Okay.
no standards out there. There's absolutely nothing. So you try to determine a rate that's reasonable, that will maximize insurance benefits and
Sure.
but not break the bank. So our rates are half of what our contractor was charging.
Mhm.
Okay. We have 4 different categories that we charge based on what kind of treatment we give the patient.
Okay.
So we have 2 lower end rates, and then we have 2 upper end rates. So obviously the patient that was a cardiac arrest, say, was a lot of work that had to go into that. A lot of medications had to be administered, high skill level of treatment. That's the higher end bill.
Gotcha.
You trip and fall and hurt your ankle. It's not broken. It's just sore, and you want to ride to the ER. That's going to be a lower end bill. So that's standardized. That kind of standard, if you will,
Okay.
on how the bill. Most ambulances or ambulance service don't do itemized billing to where you have, oh, you used a Band-Aid, that's $5. I gave an aspirin, that's $3. It's just a flat rate. And then we charge a flat rate for mileage. No matter what the call is, it's the same rate that we charge per
Gotcha.
mile.
Okay.
Right? So the billing does look, like what Mr. Colby put out there is we're billing a lot. Goal with that is to maximize the insurance benefits of the payers, the payees, if you will.
Now, I know those are the billings. When can you expect to start seeing the money come in? Because I know different insurance companies pay at different rates. It's all over the board.
It is all over the place.
So I don't know if there's like a general rule when you can expect to start to see payments come in. Maybe you've already seen some.
So I could talk a little bit as you're pulling that up.
Well, going by, not to interrupt, but off of the billing reports, this is what you see as well. So the total run charges for each month, starting with those numbers, and then during the month, the contractual adjustments or write-offs. So Medicare, it is basically a contractual write-off that Medicare will only pay X amount. You can bill them 1,000, you can bill them 5,000, you can bill them 15,000. They're only going to pay whatever the $494.91.
I know my insurance company does the same thing, right? When I go in for surgery, this is what we'll pay for it.
So private insurance, you may or may not be responsible for the difference in the bill. That's between you and your provider.
Right.
Medicare, we can't charge the difference. So they automatically adjust the bill to their pay rate. That's all we could collect. We're not allowed to even try to ask that patient for the difference.
Is there usually a big difference with Medicare?
A significant difference. And it's not fair. It's not fair for pre-hospital care. They are way low on what they want to pay. I'll give you an example. A procedure that we would do in the back of an ambulance, they'll probably pay us $400 and some change, okay, for that procedure. You could go into the emergency room and they could do the exact same procedure in the emergency room and they'll pay the hospital $21,000. It is absolutely not fair how they come up with that. We fight it all the time as far as the ambulance services, and not just in the state, but other states. I have no idea how they come up with their payment plan. I don't think they know.
Can we call it a mobile emergency room?
So yeah, and it's absolutely unfair how much they'll pay for a hospital to do something versus what they'll pay a ambulance service to do the same procedure.
I have a question. So you said that it's the payments from the insurance is starting to trickle in. How are you billing like those private pay insurance? Or are you just saying, okay, this is it, and
so how the
taxpayer?
kind of how the hierarchy of how the billing system works? I think that's important to understand, and some of the delays in that. So we run a call, we transport somebody. Our provider has a very short window. Our policy kind of is within the 24 hours that call needs to be entered into the computer system, and it's a state computer system that we're mandated to put the patient care report in. So it's got all the patient information and what we did to that patient, what hospital we took them to, and the outcome of our treatment. All that goes into what's called a PCR, patient care report. We either import the insurance information or to simply take a picture of the insurance card and attach it to that file.
Okay.
Once it's all uploaded, we click a little tab that says ready for billing. Our billing company now gets that alert, and at some point they'll start working on it. Obviously they're not probably sitting at the computer waiting for a report to come in, but probably weekly they get in there and they start pulling reports from all their different providers that they're billing for. And then they enter all that information into the insurance portal, because all insurance companies, they have a different portal they can log into and enter all the information. So they do all that on their end. And then it's just a time of how long does it take before it finally gets through all the hoops.
Yep.
Sometimes they might deny it because we left one little thing off the patient care report. So they shoot it back to us. We have to put whatever they want us to change and then resubmit it back to them.
Okay.
Because anything that we transport, it's billable.
Mhm.
Right? We just got to make sure that we're satisfying what they want before they finally approve the payment for that. So that could take months before you finally see a patient come in.
All right, but we are seeing some of that cash come in.
We are seeing some of that cash
Okay.
come in.
Which
Could you
on the
kind of just
third,
walk us through the numbers just to make sure everyone who's seeing it understands it?
so you have your total run charges, and each month, anything that is considered a contractual adjustment or a write-off, they give us a listing of all of those with the reason and the like. And then the collections column on a monthly basis, we're receiving some checks we receive here directly, and we process through our regular cash receipt processing. Gets logged in, goes through the town clerk's office, and then the billing company is also made aware of that collection. But we're also receiving probably 8 to 10 times a month, we'll receive ACHs directly into the bank account. So the cash collections, and they will detail that, break it down, so you can see. And for the month of June, I've reconciled the June bank statement. I believe we've collected around 32,000, but I don't have the billing report to confirm it, but we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 32,000. So you can see, the collections, as time goes on, the collections are increasing, but also the adjustments and the write-offs, those are increasing as well. So it is still very early to, see what the history is, what the average is going to be per run of what we're going to collect. So, just based on the total run charges, again, we're at 485,000. We did a quick analysis, this morning on payroll, benefits, supplies, the major items that, we have paid out so far. To at least give an overview of where we're at in the, year to date. And that's where we're in the neighborhood of $213,000 of expenses. So it looks great on paper. The likelihood, we're not going to collect the full 485. There's, we've already had in, 3 months, $68,000 of that written off contractually. So that will obviously increase. So.
But in that defense of that, if we're charging 50% of what our previous supplier was, we're more in line with the insurance aspect. So our return should be higher than you know what I'm saying? Because if they're billing $4,000 and we're billing $2,000, obviously, $2,000 is more in alignment of what they're going to be paying. So just in my eyes.
Our return on investment will come a little quicker than if we were still using
Right.
the private. So I have a question. So the write-offs are basically the Medicare, Medicaid, and uninsureds.
Uninsured's not in there. This is,
Okay.
all the write-offs just reflect Medicare.
Okay. What are we
Because-
doing with the uninsureds?
So we're still collecting data on where we want that threshold to be.
Okay.
And if we want to adjust a bill, what do we want to adjust it to?
Okay.
So it's just so early into the system. Luckily about 90% of our patients so far have insurance, have some type of insurance, whether it be Medicare or private pay, or not private pay, but private insurance,
Okay.
commercial insurance. So we don't have a huge number of uninsured just yet. So we'll have to, as we get more of the data in, we could determine what that threshold, what we want to collect and what we want to write off.
All right.
But whatever we do, we have to make sure it's kind of across the board. So what gets some towns in trouble is they want to play favoritism to town residents and say, oh, if it's a town resident, let's just write it off and not collect. That is against the law. We cannot do that. But we could develop a policy that says this is our threshold. This is where we want it to be, as far as a collection goes, and then make that for every patient that we encounter.
And so far, I know it's early. Are you finding more Medicare or private insurance?
So we're right on par probably with what our payer matrix was used to develop our projected income that was presented to 2 different billing companies. We run around 47% Medicare patients.
So it's close to half.
So it's about half of our transports are Medicare patients, which reduces the number, but kind of below the threshold. So our projected collection rate was about $600, I think, if I remember right, per transport is what the 2 different companies projected we would collect.
And is that a transport anywhere?
That's pretty much a transport. That's just the average. Some are going to pay less, some are going to pay more. So we have some veteran affairs insurance. They pay 100% of the bill. So you got Medicare. That's like, all right, say Medicare only pays $485 or $500, and we're trying to get to that $600 threshold. and then you have another one that pays $2,000, well, that now is upping your average of the ones that weren't paying as much. So like, but we use projected data, we use payer matrices from years past. We're pretty much online with that. We don't have a lot of change in it. And, our billing company's right online with processing those. What else you want to do?
And the billing company only gets paid on what they collect?
They only get paid on what they collect, and it's a very small percentage. I think it's 4% maybe. 3 or 4. Yeah.
So it's not what they bill, it's what actually comes in.
That's what actually they collect, yep. And their invoice actually reflects what they've collected for that month. So it's to their advantage to collect more.
Right, that's.
Yeah.
how
And
you
that's,
want it.
that's how it's set up that way on purpose,
Yeah,
right?
anybody can bill.
Yeah.
But collecting is,
So-
that's where the rubber meets the road.
I think it's great. We're right. I mean, the numbers are falling in alignment with what we projected, and the response time is what's key to all of this, is taking care of our citizens here in town. So
Right.
I say we ride the course and check it out in the next quarter.
Yeah, and I think it'd be a good update, like once a quarter, and especially while we're still getting our arms around it.
Yeah. It'll get more detailed or exciting, if you will, the further along we get. It's just so early into the system transition. Well, we are collecting data as far as calls for service, but it's insurance companies just don't pay that fast.
Okay,
So-
any other questions?
No, I guess the only one might be for the uninsured calls. Who's making that decision, what we would charge, what we don't?
So we have a current rate right now. What we'll have to decide as we start getting a little bit more feedback on what's coming in is what you all feel comfortable with as far as a reduction, if you will, in a bill. It's like if you go to a hospital and you don't have health insurance, they're going to change your bill to a different amount. And we do have the ability to do that.
No, I'm good. It seems the feedback I'm getting has all been positive in town.
And I'm wondering if maybe we just, when the fall hits and it's budget season, we start to have the conversation about the uninsureds and what we're going to do. Only because I think as we continue, it's, I don't want to see us, like dipping into what we're doing here because the uninsureds can't pay. So, and trying to find that happy medium somewhere.
Well, we could have, I'll have a couple different options for when we make that next step, if you
Okay.
will. So, right now our billing company sends out a bill 3 times before it's considered, if you will, delinquent.
Mhm.
And then if we wanted to take on a third-party collection agency, then they're the ones that really work hard in saying, okay, we're going to reduce your bill to this if you pay it today.
Okay.
If you make the payment today, we'll reduce it to $600 or whatever it is that we say we want it to be at. And then they'll work with us on that. And they work the same way. They make their money on collections. So it's to their advantage to collect.
As much as they can. All right.
Anything else?
No. I'm
Okay.
good.
I got a couple things while I'm in front of you real quick, if you don't mind. Some
Go for it.
exciting things. So our Plastow Junior program just graduated the annual fire academy up at the Concord, New Hampshire Fire Academy. So we had 14 junior firefighters that were in that program. So Lieutenant Travers did an excellent job organizing that and getting them ready for that. They give you an impact on how much that is. They only accept 50 students. More so because they stay there the whole week, and that's all they could only have enough bedroom space for 50. So out of 50 kids, we provided 14.
Wow.
of that.
Nice.
That's
So
awesome.
is doing a really good job. So I got to give them a plug for there. Our staff did a good job at the Plastow fishing game during a senior health fair. So we set up a table And we collect, we like blood pressure checks, but then we also collect information from our residents. If they want to provide us with some medical alert information, we could put it in our CAD system. We could give them a piece of paper or a special card that they could write their name information, next to kin information on it. So we had our staff out doing that. We became a training center for the National Association of EMTs. So that's not your EMT or paramedic classes. These are continuing education classes. So that helps save the town money because we do that in-house now for a much reduced cost. So we did a pre-hospital trauma life support class last month, and today and tomorrow, which I'll never make this mistake again. Don't schedule a class the day after a holiday and on a Monday. I already knew to stay away from Mondays, but I really pushed it with being after a holiday. So we got a group and then other people coming to its advanced medical life support program. So this is what makes our paramedics and our EMTs good at their job. We can't just do a class one time and expect them to remember everything. And then the most exciting news of today, I just got while I was sitting here. So June 26th, we traveled to Appleton, Wisconsin to do the final inspection of our ladder truck.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
I just got a text not 5 minutes ago that it is now sitting in Massachusetts at our vendor, going through its acceptance inspection from our vendor, and hopefully it'll be delivered here very, very soon.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I do plan on doing a push-in ceremony. It's similar like we did with the ambulance. August, probably, what day did we say? August 19th, maybe? Yeah, so it's a little bit away, but it gives us time to get the apparatus in, get stuff mounted on it, make sure it's all ready, and then do another.
No motor running, actual push-in.
Yeah, pushing. Yeah, no transmission. Yeah, we'll leave it, yeah. And the Board of Selectmen is going to push it in, right?
We got enough girth.
So hopefully you'll see some more pictures of it, and then it'll be sitting in our fire station here really soon. It'll be a little bit before it's in service, so this will give you a little disclaimer, just because we have it and it's in our possession. Don't expect to see it going on a call the next day. There's a lot of training that we have to do on it that the manufacturer is going to provide. There's a lot of training that I'm going to do with the staff before they're going to be allowed to respond to calls on it. This is for the safety of everybody and to make sure we don't do anything that damages it.
Very nice.
So, but yeah,
That's exciting.
it's very exciting. So,
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Have a good night.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Mr. Colby,
Yes, sir.
it's colder than a mother-in-law's kiss in here.
So I
Oh, and I
chuckled
was enjoying
loudly over that one.
Well,
Go crack your window.
yeah,
Go
That's-
step outside for a minute.
that's it. I can tough it out if everybody else can.
All right. ARPA Fund Message Board. Mr. Colby.
So for those, we have been discussing replacing the message board out front of the corner of Elm and Main with a changeable LED message board. We had gotten and called around for quotes on said board. There are very few companies that are doing it. Sign Design was one of those that is local. They service locally. One of the ones that responded actually was from Florida, so it was going to be a little bit more difficult. But in doing this, we had a couple of weeks ago, Sign Design came and brought samples of the message boards for the board and the staff here to look at. Based on that observation period, we sent them back for different proposals for different sizes, because the area that we have within the existing frame out there can accommodate a little bit bigger sign, which we found out, when they were here that day. There's also a difference in the size of the pixels that we noticed as well. And so I believe it was a 10 millimeter size that they originally quoted and that they brought.
But he was able to change it to the different sizes.
Right,
And
so-
then they had display screen.
The display screen, correct. So based on that, we got prices on a 10 millimeter, an 8 millimeter, and a 6. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we were all pretty much in agreement that the 10 was a little fuzzy, but that the 6, we didn't really need to go to that clarity. I mean, we could have gone to a 4 if we wanted to, but I think that we kind of figured that the 8 millimeter was a good size.
What's at the library?
I'm not
I would-
100%.
It's not the same vendor.
No, I know,
So,
but I was
but
wondering
it-
what the pixels are up there.
It was going to be cleaner and neater than the library.
Okay,
So I think we had asked for, Jay and I went, so we had asked Greg to get different options, like with the 6, 8, and 10
yeah,
pixelated screens. And the 10 was kind of clunky. The 8 was clear from when you could stand back. The 6 was,
The 6 was almost like looking at a TV in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And
okay.
so, and then the 16 was like, when they showed us the 16, it was like a billboard.
Yeah.
So I think the library is somewhere between a 10 and a 16.
that was my feeling, yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. DeRoche, but we kind of kept stepping back to look
Yeah.
to see the differences, and the 8 seemed to be,
The happy
when traffic
medium.
was coming by,
Yeah.
it was probably the better choice for us to look at.
And the other one's probably more for if you wanted to put pictures up there or movies or whatever,
8,
right?
the 6 was for more of the pictures. They did have Mr. Colby up there at one point and the chief up there at one point. But you can make the slideshow and you can make the slides as you want. So we don't have to put pictures on there, just
Yeah.
Just words, if you
verbiage,
will,
so-
or, clip art and things of that
Well, the
nature.
thing is, I know it was distracting, is when you come into town, remember the building
Mortgage
there, the old
specialist.
mortgage specialist?
Yeah,
Remember driving by that thing and the pictures constantly changing? It was a distraction.
yeah, it was.
People would, they'd be rubbernecking as they went by it. So I'm just saying, we don't need anything, I don't think.
I think they
Pictures.
also said that we could control the speed of the slide.
Right.
So
The-
it
the-
wasn't like up
Yeah.
at mortgage specialists. So,
Yeah,
so it wasn't like,
yeah, that was a,
oh, there's a squirrel, ooh.
You could do it from a second to 5 seconds to 10 seconds. You can change that. The ability to change on the go, is, as they described it, like when we set meetings for the year, if you will, that Beth can set up a slide and put, when do you want it displayed? When do you want it pulled? So if we have a meeting on August 19th, she could set up a slide right now and tell the message board to start on August 12th advertising this meeting, and then pull it down on, August 19th at 7 p.m. once the meeting starts. And you can do that up to a year in advance. And you can do it from anywhere. We can do it, it's all cloud-based to be able to access it. It is,
And that's on any of these proposals?
yes, yep.
how big is the board that's out there now? Do you know? Roughly?
I believe it's the 36 by 60
Yes.
is what's out there right now. So what they said is, because they make each one of them individually, given the measurements, they could go up to like a 72 by 41 or 41 by snow, moisture.
And moisture getting in, even though it's guaranteed, like for life, I would hate to have to call them to have them replace it consistently because there's so much moisture in there, and then have to
How
change
big
it.
was the sign that you saw that they brought? Remember?
Well,
36 by roughly?
it was bigger, but
Bigger.
they did cut it down to the size of what was quoted here, the 36 by 60.
Yeah.
And that's probably what we're looking at, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And it looked not, I mean, it looked sharp.
Yeah.
When they put the 8 in.
Yes.
Because what's out there now, granted, it's, lettering just put up. You can easily read it, the size that's there.
We got 3 proposals on this.
We attempted to get 3 proposals, yes. We called, begged, borrowed, and to try to get people to respond.
Okay.
Yes.
And if I could, Jay, one thing that I want to say, I'll be the first one to admit that I was not in favor of the library one. I was afraid that almost what's happening is happening. I thought the library be billboardy. I thought this will be billboardy. The next will be either the fire department, I'm sure, or the safety complex that wants to be billboardy. And all of a sudden, I get the feeling like I'm in Las Vegas instead of downtown Plastow. And I see all the merit for it. I understand all the merit for it, and I would vote for it. But my reservation is trying not to make the town look honky tonk. We've got enough of that out on 125.
We do.
Yeah, you don't want it in front of every building is where
No.
you're going.
And I admit, I didn't go see this, so you guys have a better handle on it than I do.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
I mean, I do think you can tone it down based on the colors and the pictures and the like.
Yeah.
And you can make it more signish,
Okay.
if you will, but just it is a very efficient tool to get more information out there.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. It's just, like I said, I'm trying to hopefully in the future when they come from the building department and then the fire department, that we try to be very cognizant of, we don't want that sign that, Vegas feel.
No, yeah, you
little
don't want
town.
neon lights all over town.
Right.
Yeah. You're right. We do have a lot on 125.
Yeah.
So looking at the 36 by 60 at the 8 millimeter puts the cost of the message board at $33,420. There is the installation of $3,850. Then there would be the additional cost of hooking it into the electricity, which there is a meter that the electrician that we utilize in town, would be able to hook into so that the billing would be, right off of a meter that we currently are billed under. So I believe that was about $3,000 was their estimate to hook in and do all the electrical and prep the electrical for
Are they
it as well.
able to use the electrical, that it's there though? Everything,
Yes.
all the power running from the building out to there?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good.
And if you have to make changes out there, say something's happening, whatever, trash isn't getting picked up for the rest of the day, the truck broke down, just to use that or anything else, you can make that change on the fly from in here?
Yeah. Yep.
So there's no more manpower, it's all basically right from your laptop?
Yes. Yep. If it's a Friday and, we're not around, or if Beth's not around, or even on the weekend, we can get into it and we can,
So you don't have to, you could be remote to
yes,
do it?
correct.
I do have a question. You had mentioned a Florida company. Did they send any numbers up or anything? And
They
were
did, and they were higher.
They were higher?
Yes.
Okay.
And you're looking to use ARPA funds for this, correct?
Correct. That would be,
And how much, is it roughly around 200?
we have roughly 200 to 215,000. It's over 2, I believe.
Okay, so it's coming out of there, so.
Yes.
So you're looking at roughly, you're talking about 41K, somewhere around there? That includes the installation?
Yes,
and
roughly
electrical?
$41,000.
So in the motion, it'll be not to exceed 41,000?
Sure. That would suffice. I mean, I know since we've been talking about it, there have been people in town that, it has been positive feedback,
Yeah.
saying that they like the idea.
Oh, no, there's definitely an advantage to getting information out there and you can get it out there quickly. Something's going on. All right, I'll make a motion to direct Town Manager Greg Colby to purchase an electronic sign / message board from the front of Town Hall using ARPA funds. The purchase shall not exceed $41K.
Is there a second?
$41,000.
I just have a question before you make that statement. And
need to do the
I'm
other one?
assuming you're picking unit number 2. Is that correct?
Yes, it would be number 2.
So if you have 33,420 and 3850 install,
And
we're
then,
at 37,2.
And the
and
electricity
then
is
the
3.
electricity is another 3.
The electrician.
Okay,
And it's actually
That's
$40,270.
like 40 and change. so-
okay.
Before you do that motion, do we have to do the motion to allow you to do it?
I think either way.
Tomato, tomato? Okay.
And part of that motion, make sure it's option number 2 under there,
Yes.
which would be the, what's it, 36?
Double-sided, 72 by 14.
72 by
36
14, and wood
16,
sign cabinet, and it's the 8 millimeter.
The 8 millimeter. Yes.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Liz. Any more discussion?
And they're still, just one quick question, they're still gonna use the same brick that's out there?
Yes. Yeah. They will fit and install to what's out there.
Anything else? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained, motion carries. All right, and then we need to waive,
I'll make a motion to allow the change in use under RSA 674:54, which gives the board permission to erect a permanent electronic sign and message board in front of the town hall.
motion by Darrow,
Second.
second by John Gifford. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained, motion carries 5-0. All right, moving on. Let's see, I think next up is the Water Department update. Mr. Colby.
So as part of the water department, similar to the ambulance, what we're experiencing is what any new business or enterprise, is the startup. So this was in looking at where the water department is versus, and as we all know, we have done and experienced water quality issues, if you will, because of the DBPs, which have led to a changeover in the disinfection process, but also the flushing of the system to begin startup. So this is just quickly a billing history of where we are at. Currently, we send out approximately 180 bills every quarter for customers, and that number does increase every quarter. The PFAS project is coming to a close in the next probably 2 or 3 weeks, which there are still customers that are being hooked up. So you can see the cubic feet billed as well as the total billed has increased steadily each month since the first bill was sent out at the beginning of 2023, I guess. That first bill we billed from August through December of 2022 and the beginning of January of 23. So there is a steady increase. The number of households served, though, is well more than those bills as well. So, and when we go over the audit report, in a little bit, I'll, show you where the water department ended up. But there is a steady increase in the amount of water that is being consumed and utilized. and we're always looking for, ways to sell water to contractors and the like, to maximize the use of that.
No, when you say there are more households, what do you mean? Is that because we're
Well,
selling to a large community that's on a water system?
Correct.
And we're just sending the bill to the water
yes.
company?
So like Pennachuck, they still maintain some of their customers individually, but we're selling water to them so that it may be one bill, but it might serve 80 households as a, for instance, or, 40 households and another. And, we do have some customers that are apartment buildings, and senior, housing that we give one bill to, but they provide, to many units within that.
Right. Are there any big projects on the horizon?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
We just got notified, and it was late in the week after I think the agenda was posted, that we have been working on a grant for extension of the water line off of 125 over near Wilder Drive, because of the nature over there of the water quality, because of the old highway garage, and also the landfill does not allow for the drilling of any new wells. There is significant problems over there. So we were notified late last week that we were awarded almost $2 million grant to extend the water line over there. So
Great.
that will add many new customers as well. It's a good location. It's kind of at the end of the line, so it will bring, use of water up there. So it will help with the overall health of the system as well.
Yeah, it brings it up Old County a little bit, right?
It will go up Old County. What it will also allow us to do, many years ago, there was contamination, I believe, from highway salt into a couple of local wells of houses right along Old County. They are hooked into the park well, and we will provide water to them off of that. This extension will allow them to be off of the park well and onto the water system as well. So
That's another benefit.
it's another benefit from that standpoint as well. So there's a lot of good that can come out of it. What I will need, similar to what we've done with the other grants, is a motion by the board so that we can move forward to get the grant in front of governor and council. That's the next step. After that, we would hold a public hearing, to accept, the money and to be able to expend it, but at least to get the paperwork rolling before governor and council, the authority. So,
All right, so you need a motion just so we can move the grant forward. And
yes,
you need that tonight, right?
they had asked as soon as possible. So they're trying to get this basically fast tracked, because they are hauling in water right now, into all of Wilder Drive. The condos and the businesses that are up there are hauling water in.
Yep.
So,
All right. I can make that motion. I'll make a motion to enter into an emerging contaminant small and disadvantaged community grant agreement with the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services to fund the Wilder Drive project and everything else that Mr. Colby's discussed. And we need to further grant the authority to Greg Colby, the town manager, to sign and complete all the related documents for behalf of the town.
Okay. Motion by Bill. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Daryl. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0. All right.
Thank you.
Anything else? No?
Not from a water standpoint.
All right. Next up, we have the Greater Derry Health Services Agreement.
So Currently, our welfare is administered on a part-time basis by staff in-house. With the redundancy and the difficulty in hiring, an opportunity presented itself whereby the current person who is responsible for welfare had a discussion with the Greater Dairy Community Health Services about seeing if they would provide the welfare services on behalf of the town of Plastow, which through several meetings and the like, they agreed. They also do this service for a number of communities in the surrounding area, so it's nothing new to them. So with that, this is the agreement as laid out, from them. It's at a cost of, I believe, $14,000 per year, or $1,200 per month. But it would also, we would not pay them. We raise money through the human services budget. This would supplement that money that's already spent, and that's already been approved, I should say. We have not paid over to that, but they'll basically take all of our documentation, our guidelines, our welfare guidelines, and they basically administer them as if, we had an in-house employee doing that.
Well, the benefit is too, not having an in-house employee too, it's benefits too, right?
Yes. And the ability to fill the redundancy of that position.
Right.
So this is a backup.
This would become the primary. So if we would have a person here, if they were trained and such, would be the backup.
So they'll have a welfare administrator, the person who would give out the information that is needed,
Yes,
and they would be available Monday through Friday.
they would. They would have a case manager available Monday, Friday, 8:30 to 4.
8:30 to 4.
Yep.
At the town hall?
In Derry. it
No, in
says.
Derry.
So what happens to the people who are struggling to get to Derry
We
and need to have someone here? What's the protocol for like emergencies?
would still work with somebody in-house to accommodate
Okay,
as needed, in those emergencies.
And if they needed help with paperwork, things like that, they could come in here and someone would be
Yes.
there to help.
I think the overwhelming issue is that nobody's coming in to take that
Yeah,
job.
right, nobody's beating down the door.
Right.
right.
And all of a sudden, we need help.
There's a
And
huge
you're
crisis.
certainly not going to
Huge
fill that
crisis.
position at $1,200 a month.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
And that's without all
without the
the,
benefits, you had the benefits
right,
and
all the
everything else to it.
expenditures and
Exactly.
pensions
Yeah.
and so forth that go along with an employee, so.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But is there someone that's doing it now?
Yes.
So we're going to pay an outside contractor. And that's it. The person that's doing it now is not going to do that role anymore.
Correct.
So I just wanted to make sure. I didn't know if this was just going to be a backup for when they weren't available or.
No, this will become
They're
the
taking
primary.
over.
This company, or this nonprofit would become the primary source of,
And our
Yes.
person was instrumental in making this happen.
yes.
Yes, I sat and talked to her about it.
just for the public, because I understand this, because this is what I do. Can you explain to like the public what types of thing the welfare administrator or our case manager would do for them? What types of needs are they able to help them with?
Such as rental
housing,
assistance, housing, food,
Utilities,
utilities
okay.
are the primary. There's also food.
Insecurity,
I know we've also covered funeral expenses as well, for those that aren't able to, cover that cost. So
Sorry.
it is a wide,
It's a wide berth of.
wide berth.
I do have a question. Certain groups here in town, I know the Fish and Game gives directly to our services. Would that still be an option for us to give into a pool that would be, or would that be out of the question at that point?
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay.
So I would imagine that if there's locally, that there are individuals that are identified that still need help, that the local organizations would still be able to contribute
Okay.
locally. I don't think anything will change from
Because I know
that standpoint.
that was part of our conversation, was that our money stays in town.
Right.
Obviously, to help our citizens.
And I don't think that would change.
Okay.
Because I think the other communities, have similar
I
organizations.
would imagine they would.
That would do the same thing, so.
I think it's a great idea.
I
I think
agree.
it's, you're building off other resources that are already implemented. Cost factor reduces our overhead.
Right.
And as you say, to be able to hire somebody for $1,200 a month
It's-
to do that
it's
is.
out of the question.
Is not feasible.
All right. Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to direct the town manager, Greg Colby, to enter into an agreement with Greater Derry Community Health Services Incorporated for a one-year term beginning August 1st, 2024, and ending on July 30th, 2025. The executive director of Community Health Services will serve as the town's welfare administrator.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by John. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. It's a Greg Colby show. Keep going.
So not last week, I was going to say the Thursday prior to the July 4th week, we did end up finalizing the audit report with the auditors and received said report. There are 5 copies, actual bound copies that Beth has downstairs. But once presented tonight, we will get the PDF of the audit report up on the website. But just as a refresher, the audit report or the audit process is that independent review of the financial statements done by an outside organization to basically let us know what the health is of the town from a financial statement standpoint. The idea or the goal of the ultimate, result of that is the independent auditor's report, which is that opinion, if you will, from the independent auditor to say that the financial statements are, in good shape. And I'm categorizing with, to say that the financial statements as presented it's an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level, is what you strive for. So, which has been the case for the past several years. But that report is the independent auditor's report is on page 1 and page 2, which is included in your packet, but it's basically it is required information and form and substance that the auditors need to follow. But when you look at, or if you have a chance to review it, it's pages 1, 2, and 3 of that. I've also given a page 13 out of the audit report, which is the balance sheet of the town. It shows all the assets, liabilities, deferred inflows of resources, and finally fund balance for the general fund, the water fund, and all other governmental funds. So down near the bottom of the page in the left-hand column, the unassigned fund balance, the third number up from the bottom, shows that the town closed the year out. This is December 31st, 2023, with an unassigned fund balance of $2.6 million in change, which is in the ballpark of, when we had talked at town meeting, when we had made any decisions, this was, is right in the ballpark of that number. There is no significant changes to that number. Speaking earlier, I had mentioned with the water department, you can see in the second column there under the fund balance section that the water department finished the year with $862,846. Now, this is a decrease over the prior year for the water department, but primarily due to the fact that we bought the allocation of the MSDC from Manchester, which was some $250,000. So if you were to factor that one-time charge out, the water department actually made money during the 2023 year.
And that's funded and everything by just the users.
And that is all funded by users, revenues, and the like. You can see the next sheet that I have, Exhibit C3, is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. So it shows the revenues and then offset with the expenditures, any transfers in or out. So the general fund had 11.6 million in revenue. The water department had 1.5 million. Expenditures of 11.3 million for the general fund, 1.7 million for the water, and then the reconciliation and the net change in fund balance down the bottom. You can see for the general fund, the net change in fund balance was an increase of $502,796. The water department was a decrease of $159,588. So the fund balance ending a little less than $5 million for the general fund, $862,846 for the water. One of the big areas, there's schedules, and I believe that the audit report is in excess of 75 pages at this point. So there's many sections in it that detail the different notes, accounting policies, procedures, and give detail into where the numbers come from, how it's put together, the policies, the procedures, and the like. Usually the general fund is obviously of the most important, and that's the one that houses the majority of all the activity related to the town operations. So Schedule 1 is a estimated and actual revenue schedule. 3 columns, an estimated column, which is the amount that when tax rate is set, we are looking to estimate what we think is going to be received, through the end of the year. That number is balanced to the appropriations through the property tax amount. So that's where we determine the property tax rate. The middle column, the actual column, is monies that have been received or due to be received, close enough to year end that we are reporting them as revenue. And then lastly, in that variance, positive or negative, you can see by the major categories, where the town either exceeded or was below its estimates. So leaving, come to the end, it shows a total revenue surplus of 502,295, which does sound like a lot, but that is on purpose because when we had the March town meeting, that there was a vote of several accounts, such as the police outside detail fund, that was going to come over and help offset the tax rate, because that was the way it's set up to be voted. We need to not estimate that revenue, so it rolls into the estimate at the end. It has to be an unanticipated. It can't be estimated. So that's why that number looks as high. Just above it, you'll see the transfers in, 232,000. So the bulk of the overestimate is the transfers, and that is on purpose to meet DRA requirements and the like, to be able to vote something out of fund balance. On the next page is Schedule 2. This is the appropriation side, and there's 5 columns of numbers. So what we do here is we take what was encumbered. So budget money that wasn't spent, that we had a specific purpose for it from the previous year, we take that, we add the appropriations that were voted at town meeting. From that, we subtract out expenditures, so cash or items that were incurred as expenses prior to year end are recorded in the expenditure column. Then from that, we also take what is encumbered to the subsequent year. So we had two projects. We had the septic up, or the leach field up at the public safety complex, that's the 80,000. Then we had the repairs under highways and streets out to park of the irrigation system. So when you take the first two columns, add those together, minus the expenditures, minus the encumbered the subsequent year, we're left with a variance, whether positive or negative, by each department over the course of the year. And as you can see, there are many negative numbers. It was, a tough year, if you will, buoyed by the police department and the money that was left from the vacancies. The excess snow, costs caused a $30,000 overage, but it starts on page 55 of the audit, carries over to page 56. And down at the bottom, that lower right-hand number shows that all in all, on a $12 million budget, that the town had $229,912 left of its appropriations at the end of the closing of the books at the end of the fiscal year. So, which is slightly less than 2%. The only other schedule I threw in there was Schedule 3, and this is just a synopsis of the general fund with the unassigned fund balance and how it is derived. What we began the year with, $2.4 million, what was used to reduce the tax rates, amounts voted from fund balance, the revenue surplus, Schedule 1 that we spoke of, the unexpended balance on Schedule 2, the year's budget surplus. There was a decrease in the non-spendable fund balance, leaving an unassigned the $2,577,129. To that, there were some other adjustments due to different accounting policies, procedures, and rules, 60-day rule and the like. And then it comes all the way down to the unassigned of $2,661,000. So, with that, once you have a chance to review the audit, which I'm sure you all will review all 78 pages or the like, and you have any more questions, or if anybody at home has a chance to review the audit, feel free to email any questions, or we can discuss them, at another meeting. But
All right, thank you. Sure, that's some wonderful nighttime reading. All 75 pages.
yep.
That's bathroom reading.
All right.
That's the 2023 audit, so we're done for another year.
All right, well, thank you very much for pulling that all together.
You're welcome.
All right, next up, we have the consent agenda. We have the accounts payable manifest for July 3rd and the 8th going around, so if you can, please sign that. Draft minutes for June 17th, assessing form PA 28 will not be used for inventory, and then one warrant land use change tax. So can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion made.
Motion by Darrell. Get a second?
Second.
Second by Liz.
Thanks, sir.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries 5-0-0. All right, skip the action item list. Town managers report. I know you've already done a lot, but anything you want to?
I will add 2 or 3 things. I know, as we had spoken about at the last meeting, the sugar maple out back that was and severe decay and the like. That we did work with the tree company. They did come in on the Tuesday just prior to the 4th of July, and they did cut the tree down and chip up what they could, took the wood and the like. So it was, and watching some of those pieces come down, and Mr. Coy, you can attest, there were some of the larger branches, how big they were,
Well, they were
but
as big as trees.
and full of decay and the like. So I definitely, it was the right choice to do that before there was anybody got injured or any property damage and the like. I mean, it is unfortunate that we had to take out such a tree, but we took it out under our control versus the other one that went down, and thankfully nobody got hurt from it. So
And the other thing to know too, is there were already 2 other trees planted out there by there.
that is correct. A couple of years ago, in anticipation of this, we did approach the Conservation Commission, and as part of that, for an Arbor Day activity, they did plant at least 2 trees out there. And those I'm amazed at how much they've grown in 2 years. And now that the other tree is gone, and won't be sharing resources, I'm sure those 2 will grow.
Did we save a chunk of it?
I am not sure. I don't think that we did.
I
Because it
watched
was-
it drive away.
Oh, okay.
I guess it was a very dense tree, what I'm told. And by the time they got down to the bottom, there was about an 8 or 9 foot section. And the highway supervisor, the crane had the ability to weigh what it was lifting. And that 8 or 9 foot chunk, they said weighed 4,500 pounds.
How old was the tree? Anybody have any idea?
I don't have.
I don't remember when it was planted.
Come on. You were there with the shovel.
The
Go back and check your childhood pictures.
In your, there is an operating budget summary through June of 2024 in your packets that will go up online, tomorrow, but the detail is there. Again, we're on to 2024, monitoring the budget. We're through 6 months. Half the year is over. And then the only other thing I'll add is we did get a community power update, which they have not set the prices yet. Basically that in June, Unitil set its new 6-month rate at 0.10506 kilowatts beginning August 1st. And they don't feel that it's a good time to put community power out there. So they have held off on that for the time being. So
we're not seeing a reduction at all.
not at this point.
I was counting on that.
You got a reduction.
You got it.
They brought it down
Through
by like
Unitil.
6.8 cents.
Yeah, I can go out to eat at McDonald's and get 1 fry.
So
All right, thank you. Selectmen's reports. Mr. Britton.
I haven't got any, but my question is does anybody know when the CIP meeting is for the school?
It's actually, I think, this Thursday. I believe we got an email, but I can send you that.
Would you please?
I will.
Yeah, thank you.
I can tell you what it is in a minute.
Okay.
I think it's Thursday at 6 o'clock here, but I could be wrong.
I can find it to update.
All right, Liz?
Yes. Old Home Day events I attended. I attended an Elder Affairs meeting for the cookout that will be held tomorrow. Great job at the Lions Club, sir. You didn't do it, but thank you for offering it home on the 23rd, and I think that's all I have for today. The heat's getting to me.
All right, Bill?
Really about the only thing I did the last couple weeks, I did go to the concerts out here on the green. They've been very well attended, the first 2.
Oh, good.
I mean, very well. It's like most of the green's been packed, which is good. And the ice cream is still going over at the church.
Can't beat that holy ice cream.
You can't. That's all I had.
All right, John?
Let's see. I attended Old Home Day Parade, was interactive on that. The biggest thing that I can say about the Old Home Day Parade is that we no longer have a typical Old Home Day committee. We no longer have a chair. We no longer have a co-chair, and we no longer have a secretary involved. So as we go forward, we're going to have to look into that and hopefully pool our resources that we have here in town and get a new crew together. It was by no fault of anybody's. It's a daunting task to put on 6 people.
Yeah, and they've done it for a few years
And
now.
they've done it for a couple of years, and they felt it was their time to move on and get some new blood and new ideas. So,
Well, thank you
that-
very much for them.
yes, absolutely. The amount of work that they put into it was staggering, to say
It
the
is, and
least.
it's all volunteer hours, so if people want Old Home Day, we need bodies.
Right. So that's the biggest thing going to come out of Old Home Day. We had a great extension over here at the 75th party. A lot of kids got involved. It was fun. I think that went over well. The Historical Society is doing well. I can't say how much better with new leadership and a new breath of fresh air in there. The Historical Society has really stepped up, and it showed at Old Home Day where they were interactive with a couple different events in there. So that's truly important to me. That's something I hold dearly, is at the Historic Society. Other than that, I have not made any of the concerts on the Common. I can typically sit at home and enjoy a concert at the Common, so I don't stroll over. So that's my bad. I don't know how the church went, but I do know that Bill and I were involved in passing on the Boston cane, which
Yes,
was.
the Boston
was
Post
fun.
came, that was, yeah, this was there as well.
Oh, I apologize. That's right.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
It was a busy day.
It was a very busy day.
Yeah, it was nice, and there was a good sized turnout for it as well.
I was amazed, and it wasn't so like going to the house and doing a personal thing. It was
Yeah.
the whole church was
That's a nice way to
involved,
do
and
it.
I
It was a
really
nice
I thought that was really something special for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That's what I've got going on.
Daryl, the
All right.
CIP is the 18th.
I did bring a big fan
My
for
bad.
tomorrow, so the Lions that will be cooking we'll have a fan
We're gonna have a
outside
good
to
time
keep them cooled
tomorrow.
off.
Well, I guess they're gonna have meat up here.
Right, but the Lions
For the
will be out
cooks,
back
for the cooks.
cooking out in that heat. So
Yeah.
When's that?
it's tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
God bless those gentlemen that are going to be sitting in front at 90 degrees flipping burgers. The least I could do is offer them a fan.
All right. Thanks, Sean. I also did attend a bunch of events at Old Home Day. I did go to the Kids Fest. That was pretty fun. There was birthday cake and all kinds of activities. And then there was the Decades Dance. Crazy George, the DJ, was pretty fun. Got us all up doing the chicken dance.
You want Bob Hope to do the chicken dance.
Yeah. Even Daryl was up doing the chicken dance. It was pretty fun. PPC did a great job with their dinner. The food was excellent. It was kind of a decent turnout, so it was a good night.
It was a good night.
That's it. Do we know when fireworks might be rescheduled, or?
What I had seen tentatively, and you might know this too, John, it was like the Labor Day weekend, I believe.
That's what it is, tentative. There was obviously no way we were going to
Yeah.
be able to switch it over to the 4th, but
Right.
the company's already booked. But that's what I see it as a tentative.
So
as
we'll
of right
post the date once we know a final date. Okay,
Yes.
good.
now. And always weather permitting.
Yes, always. I don't think we've had fireworks in, 2 or 3 years at this point. So hopefully we can pull it off this year and have a good fireworks show for everybody. All right, next is events. Let's see, so we have a bunch of events coming up. So tomorrow night at the library at 6 p.m., we're going to have Plastow 275, A Night to Reminisce with Norm Major. He's going to talk about the last 60 years of Plastow and how it's changed over time. You need to register for that event. So if you haven't, please call the library and register. That's at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. Summer recreation program is in full swing over at Park. The summer concert series is every Wednesday night for the next 8 weeks over the summer. And there will be a senior cookout tomorrow, July 9th. That starts at 11:30. It's going to be moved inside because of the heat. We have people that will be, the Lions Club will be cooking for your enjoyment tomorrow. So please come and enjoy a burger or a hot dog with us. Some of us will be here tomorrow. There'll be a whale watch July 15th, sponsored by the Recreation Department. So if you're interested in joining, please call the Recreation Department. And there's also a Recreation Department trip to Cats baseball game on August 9th. So please call Recreation if you're interested in that. There's also, for the Selectmen, there's a 2025-26 legislative policy process conference. Is anyone's interested in going, please let Beth know. And there was one more thing. Recently, we're getting inundated with a lot of requests. So if you guys have any right to know requests, please forward them to Greg and Beth or Beth so that we can go through the proper procedure to get information out to people. Any other business anyone wants to talk about?
I'd just like to mention that while summer rec is happening, the park is closed. A lot of people don't get that because they don't have kids in rec, but
Right.
legally, the park is closed so that nobody outside of that can interact with our children. So that's the reason why it's closed. So please take that in understanding.
And I think most towns that have summer programs at their local parks follow the same process.
Right.
So,
Luckily, we do have Ingalls, right, over at Smithfield.
yeah. So yes, there is another park you can go enjoy as well. Do we need a non-public for this evening?
No, we do not.
Okay. All right, anything else? I'll adjourn the meeting at 8:02. Have a good night.